The Pacific Ocean churned beneath storm-darkened skies as the NOAA research vessel Horizon fought against waves that seemed determined to swallow it whole. Dr. Sarah Chen stood on the bridge, her eyes fixed on the radar display that shouldn't have been showing what it was showing. Something massive was moving through the water 2 kilometers below, something that defied everything she knew about marine biology. Whatever it is, it's rising. First Officer Martinez reported, his voice tight with tension. Speed decreasing. It's almost as if the ocean exploded. There was no other way to describe it. A column of water erupted skyward, and through the cascade emerged something that stopped every heart on the bridge. It was sleek, silver, and absolutely massive, a vessel clearly not of Earth origin. Its surface rippled with patterns of light that seemed to pulse in rhythm with some internal power source. As seawater streamed off its hull, the ship, because what else could it be, began to list heavily to one side. "My God," Sarah whispered, "it's damage." The alien vessel's descent back into the ocean was far less graceful than its emergence. It hit the water with a tremendous impact, sending waves in all directions. The Horizon's captain was already on the satellite phone, but Sarah knew that whatever happened next would change humanity forever. Within hours, the site was swarming with military vessels from half a dozen nations. The alien ship had come to rest in relatively shallow water, its hull breached in multiple places. It took 3 days of careful preparation before the first human team, including Sarah, was cleared to approach in a deep-sea submersible. What they found inside would haunt Sarah's dreams for years to come. The ship's crew was dead, their bodies preserved by what appeared to be some kind of stasis technology that had failed in the crash. They were humanoid, but with distinctive differences: iridescent skin, 4-fingered hands, and eyes that seemed to contain the depths of space itself. But it was the ship's log that changed everything. The translation took weeks, even with the help of the ship's partially functioning AI interface. When the truth finally emerged, it sent shockwaves through every government on Earth. The vessel, named something that roughly translated to "swift warning," had been part of an advanced scout force. They weren't running random exploration missions. They were running from something. The ship's captain had recorded a final message before their systems failed. "To any intelligence that finds this vessel, they are coming." The harvesters have already consumed 12 systems. They move between the stars like locusts, stripping worlds of resources and leaving them lifeless. Our civilization's fastest ships couldn't outrun them. Our strongest weapons couldn't stop them. We tried to warn others, but we were too late. This ship contains all we know of their weaknesses, their patterns of attack. Use it. Prepare. You have perhaps 5 of your solar cycles before they reach this system. Sarah spent months working with an international team of scientists, trying to understand the alien technology. The ship had used some form of faster-than-light travel, but the drive was completely unlike anything theorized in human physics. It manipulated space-time in ways that seemed to violate several fundamental laws of physics, or rather, revealed that humanity's understanding of those laws was incomplete. The global response was unprecedented. For the first time in human history, every major nation agreed to pool their resources, their best minds, their industrial capacity. The Unity Project was born, headquartered in a massive facility built into the side of a mountain in New Zealand. Sarah found herself appointed as one of the lead researchers, working alongside scientists who had once been bitter rivals. As the first year passed, they made progress, but not enough. The alien FTL drive remained stubbornly mysterious, its principles just beyond their grasp. Sarah spent countless nights staring at equations that seemed to mock her, knowing that somewhere in the complex mathematics was the key to humanity's survival. Then came the day when everything changed again. A junior researcher named David Park noticed something odd in the quantum field measurements they'd been taking of the alien drive's containment chamber. It was such a small thing. A tiny fluctuation that shouldn't have been possible according to their current understanding of quantum mechanics. But that impossible fluctuation would lead humanity down a path that even their dead alien visitors hadn't discovered. As Sarah stared at the data streaming across her screen, she felt a chill run down her spine. They'd been trying to copy the alien technology, to reverse engineer something they didn't fully understand. But maybe that had been the wrong approach all along. Maybe humanity needed to find its own path to the stars. She grabbed her tablet and began sketching out a new series of equations. The numbers flowed like water, each solution leading to 3 new questions. But for the first time since the alien ship crashed into their ocean, Sarah felt something she hadn't dared to feel before. Hope. The Unity project's central command hub hummed with activity, holographic displays casting an ethereal blue glow across tired faces. Sarah Chen stood before the International Oversight Committee, her hands steady despite having gone 36 hours without sleep. Behind her, a simulation played out the revolutionary concept that had consumed her team for the past 3 months. "We've been approaching this wrong," she explained, gesturing to the complex mathematical models floating in the air. "The alien drive tried to punch through space-time like a battering ram. But what we've discovered suggests something far more elegant. The quantum fluctuations they detected in the alien drive's containment chamber had led them down an unexpected path. Instead of trying to brute force their way through the fabric of space-time, Sarah's team had discovered what they called quantum resonance points, places where the boundary between normal space and what they now termed slit space was naturally thinner. Dr. Vikram Patel, her closest collaborator, stepped forward to continue the explanation. "Think of space-time as a piece of fabric. The aliens found a way to tear through it, but that requires enormous energy and leaves behind damage that takes years to heal. What we're proposing is more like finding the natural seams and gently pulling them apart." The committee members exchanged glances. Admiral Chen, no relation to Sarah, leaned forward. "And this requires less energy than the alien drive." "Significantly less," Sarah confirmed. "We estimate perhaps 1/10 the power consumption. But more importantly, it's something we can actually build with current technology. We don't need exotic materials we barely understand. We can do this with human engineering." The next few months were a blur of activity. The Unity project facility expanded, new wings sprouting from the mountainside like metallic growths. Teams worked around the clock, transforming theoretical physics into practical engineering. Sarah found herself moving between different groups, helping to solve problems as they arose, watching as humanity's first true faster-than-light drive took shape. But it wasn't just the technology that was evolving. The project itself had become something more than just a research facility. People from every corner of Earth worked side by side, former enemies becoming colleagues, then friends. Cultural boundaries blurred as everyone focused on their shared goal: survival. The first test of the quantum resonance drive was conducted in a heavily shielded chamber deep within the mountain. Sarah stood with her team behind thick observation windows as they powered up the prototype, a device no larger than a car engine. The air seemed to shimmer around it as the quantum fields began to align. "Field stability at 98%, David Park announced, his voice tense with excitement. "Resonance frequency matching predicted values." Sarah held her breath as the readings climbed. This was the moment where the alien drive would have required massive power inputs to force its way through space-time. Their sensors had recorded the quantum damage left behind by such attempts, scars in the fabric of reality itself. But their drive was different. As the resonance built, instruments detected something extraordinary. Natural quantum fluctuations in the surrounding space were beginning to synchronize with their device, amplifying its effect. It was like watching ripples in a pond merge and grow stronger instead of canceling each other out. "My God," Vikram whispered. "It's actually communicating with the quantum substrate of space-time itself." The test was a success, but it was only the beginning. Scaling up the drive for actual spacecraft use presented new challenges. Teams of engineers worked to solve issues of heat dissipation, field containment, and power distribution. Every solution seemed to create new problems, but with each passing day, they got closer to their goal. Sarah found herself working closely with the spacecraft design team, helping to integrate the drive into what would become humanity's first faster-than-light vessel. The ship took shape in a massive underground hangar, its hull incorporating lessons learned from both human engineering and the crashed alien vessel. But time was running out. Their deep space monitoring stations had begun detecting anomalies at the edge of the solar system, subtle distortions that matched the alien records of harvester activity. The enemy was coming, perhaps faster than they'd initially estimated. One evening, as Sarah stood on an observation platform overlooking the nearly completed prototype ship, Admiral Chen joined her. They stood in silence for a moment, watching the teams of workers scurrying around the vessel, like ants tending to their queen. "Do you think we'll be ready?" the Admiral finally asked. Sarah considered the question carefully. The ship below them represented the greatest achievement in human history, but it was untested in actual spaceflight. They would be asking its crew to trust their lives to theoretical physics and human engineering. "We have to be," she replied. "But there's something I haven't told the committee yet." She pulled up data on her tablet, showing it to the Admiral. "These quantum resonance points we're using, they're not random. They form patterns, like a vast network spanning the galaxy. I think someone built this system long ago. We're not discovering it. We're rediscovering it." The Admiral's eyes widened as he studied the data. "You're saying there's some kind of ancient faster-than-light network out there, just waiting to be used?" "Maybe. But if I'm right, it means two things. First, we're not as alone out there as we thought. And second," she paused, choosing her words carefully. "Second, I don't think the harvesters are using these networks. They're doing it the brute force way, like our alien visitors, which means we might have an advantage they don't," the Admiral finished, a slow smile spreading across his face. "We might have found a better way." Sarah nodded, watching as the hangar lights reflected off the ship's hull. Humanity had always excelled at finding new paths, at seeing solutions others missed. Maybe, just maybe, that would be enough to save them all. The prototype ship gleamed under the floodlights of Launch Complex Omega, built in secret beneath the Antarctic ice. They'd named her Prometheus, humanity's first true starship. Commander Elena Rodriguez walked through her pre-flight checks with methodical precision, trying to ignore the weight of history pressing down on her shoulders. "Quantum core alignment optimal," reported Dr. Chen's voice through her headset. Sarah had fought hard to be present in the control room, rather than watching from the safety of the Unity Project headquarters. Resonance mapping shows a clear channel to the first waypoint. The mission was relatively simple on paper. A controlled jump to the orbit of Mars, using one of the quantum resonance points they'd mapped. If successful, humanity would accomplish in minutes what currently took months. If they failed, Elena pushed that thought aside. Her crew of 4 had trained for every conceivable emergency, and then some. "Prometheus, this is control. Weather window is optimal. You are go for launch sequence." Elena looked at her crew. Dr. James Walker, their quantum engineer, gave her a steady nod. Lieutenant Maria Santos, navigation specialist, and Dr. Kai Chen, systems expert, were both focused intently on their stations. They'd been chosen not just for their skills, but for their ability to think creatively under pressure. A quality Sarah insisted would be crucial. "Control, Prometheus. Beginning launch sequence." The magnetic catapult system engaged, generating the field that would lift them through the launch tunnel. Unlike traditional rockets, Prometheus was designed purely for space operation. The catapult would get them past the atmosphere, after which their conventional engines would take them to jump altitude. Catapult charge to 100%. Launch in 10, 9. Elena felt her heart pounding as the countdown continued. Everything they'd learned, everything they'd built, came down to this moment. 3, 2, 1. Launch. The acceleration was intense but smooth, magnetic fields cushioning them, as they shot upward through the ice tunnel. In less than 2 minutes, they broke through into the clear Antarctic sky, their conventional engines already firing to maintain their ascent. Prometheus has cleared the tunnel. All systems nominal. Ascending to jump altitude. The blue sky darkened to black as they climbed. Elena watched the altitude numbers tick upward, remembering Sarah's warnings about the quantum resonance points. They had to hit exactly the right position in space, too high or too low, and they'd miss their window entirely. Approaching jump altitude, Maria reported. Quantum field readings increasing. We're getting close to the sweet spot. James's fingers danced across his console as he began powering up the quantum drive. Unlike the violent energy requirements of the alien vessel, their system came online with barely a whisper. Displays showed the quantum fields around the ship beginning to align with the natural resonance point they detected. "This is remarkable," James muttered, eyes fixed on his readings. "The local quantum field is actually helping us, like it's been waiting for someone to come along and use it properly." "Prometheus, you are go for jump initiation." Sarah's voice came through, tense with anticipation. "Remember, if anything feels wrong, abort immediately. We can always try again." Elena took a deep breath. Understood. Control. Beginning jump sequence. The quantum drive's hum rose slightly as James brought it to full power. On her main display, Elena could see the visualization of what their sensors were detecting. Waves of quantum probability converging around their ship, creating what Sarah's team had termed a slit point. Field convergence at 85%, 90%, 95%. James called out the numbers with professional calm. "We're approaching critical threshold." Elena felt it before she saw it, a subtle shift in reality itself, as if the space around them had become somehow more fluid. Through the viewport, the stars seemed to blur slightly, their light bending in ways that human eyes were never meant to process. Field convergence at 100%. Slit point forming. The universe changed. There was no other way to describe it. Elena felt a sensation like falling into a warm ocean, a moment of perfect tranquility as space itself seemed to fold around them. The stars streaked not into lines, as old Sci-Fi had imagined, but into complex patterns that hurt her eyes if she looked at them too long. It lasted perhaps 10 seconds. Reality snapped back into focus. And there, hanging in space before them, was the red disk of Mars. "Prometheus, do you copy?" Sarah's voice came through, delayed by the distance but clear. Did it work? Elena looked at her crew, saw the same expression of stunned joy on every face. "Control, this is Prometheus. We're in Mars orbit." The jump was perfect. Absolutely perfect. The cheer that came through the comm system was deafening. They'd done it. Humanity had taken its first real step into the galaxy. But as Elena began their post-jump checks, a message from K's station caught her attention. "Commander, you need to see this." His display showed readings they hadn't expected. Evidence of recent quantum wake passages near their current position. Someone, or something, had used these same quantum resonance points within the last few days. They weren't alone out here. "Control," Elena said carefully. "We've got some interesting data to share. And I think Dr. Chen's theory about the quantum network was right. But there's more. Someone else is using it. Recently." There was a long pause before Sarah replied. "Understood, Prometheus. Complete your checkout and prepare for return jump. I think we've just found ourselves in a much larger game than we realized." Elena looked out at Mars, its red surface peaceful and oblivious to the revelations happening in orbit above it. They'd proven their technology worked better than they'd dared hope. But now they had new questions to answer, and time was still running out. The harvesters were coming. But maybe, just maybe, humanity wasn't as alone in this fight as they'd feared. The Unity Project's command center had changed dramatically in the weeks following Prometheus's successful test flight. New holographic displays showed a growing network of quantum resonance points stretching through the solar system and beyond. Each point pulsed with activity readings, evidence of mysterious traffic that had gone unnoticed until now. Sarah Chen stood before the central display, dark circles under her eyes betraying countless sleepless nights spent analyzing the data. "They're not random movements," she explained to the assembled military and scientific leadership. "These quantum signatures show distinct patterns. Whoever's using the network, they're organized, and they're watching us." Commander Rodriguez, recently returned from Prometheus's third test flight, stepped forward. "2 days ago, we detected a signal embedded in the quantum wake patterns. It took us time to decode it, but," she nodded to her communications officer. A series of complex mathematical equations appeared in the air. They were elegant, beautiful even, describing the fundamental principles behind quantum resonance travel. But there was more. Embedded within the mathematics was a message, one that sent murmurs through the assembled leaders. "We are the Guardians. You have found the old ways. The time has come." Admiral Chen broke the silence. "Could this be a harvester trap?" "Unlikely," Sarah replied. "The mathematical language used here matches patterns we found encoded into the quantum network itself. Whoever built this system, these Guardians are connected to them. And they're reaching out specifically because of how we chose to approach FTL travel." The next few hours were filled with intense debate. Whether to respond to the message, what to say, how much to reveal about Earth's situation. In the end, the decision was made for them. A quantum wake signature appeared just beyond lunar orbit, larger than any they detected before. Sensors recorded a massive ship emerging from quantum space, its design unlike anything they'd seen. Where the harvester ships were all brutal efficiency, this vessel seemed to flow like liquid metal, its hull decorated with patterns similar to those found in the quantum network itself. "They're broadcasting on all frequencies," the communications officer announced. "The message." "Let me guess," Sarah interrupted softly. "Perfect English." The officer nodded. "They say they're here to help." The Guardian vessel's arrival changed everything. Their representatives, tall, ethereal beings who seemed to shift between physical and energy forms, brought with them the history of a conflict spanning millions of years. Long ago, they explained, their civilization had created the quantum network as a way to connect the galaxy. But they had underestimated the darkness that lived between the stars. The harvesters emerge, a species that rejected the subtle harmony of the network in favor of brute force manipulation of spacetime. Where the network worked with the fabric of reality, the harvesters tore through it, leaving scars that could take centuries to heal. Your approach to quantum travel, their lead representative, who called itself Echo, told Sarah during one of many briefings, shows an intuitive understanding that we haven't seen in a potential ally species for thousands of years. You didn't try to dominate spacetime. You learned to work with it. But their praise came with warning. The harvesters were closer than initially feared, drawn by the quantum disturbances caused by humanity's experiments. The Guardian ship had arrived barely ahead of them. "We can help you prepare," Echo explained, its form shimming with patterns of light. "But the defense of your world must be your own. The harvesters have grown strong, consuming the resources of countless worlds. We can no longer face them directly." The next month was a blur of activity. Guardian technology and knowledge was integrated with human innovation, leading to improvements in their quantum drive design. The Prometheus was retrofitted, its systems enhanced to take full advantage of the quantum network's capabilities. More ships were under construction in secret facilities around the world, each incorporating the lessons learned from their collaboration with the Guardians. But it was a human innovation that proved most crucial. Dr. Kai Chen, working with a team of quantum physicists, discovered that the scars left by harvester FTL travel weren't just damage. They were weaknesses in spacetime that could be turned against them. The Guardians had never considered this approach, their reverence for the natural order of spacetime making such tactics unthinkable. Sometimes, Sarah told Echo as they reviewed the weapon designs, it takes a younger species to think of new solutions. We understand the harmony you speak of, but we also understand that sometimes you have to fight fire with fire. The Guardian's form rippled with what might have been amusement. Perhaps this is why the network responded so strongly to your presence. You balance understanding with innovation, respect with necessity. The network builders would have approved. But their time was running out. Long-range sensors detected the first Harvester scout ships entering the outer solar system. The quantum network pulsed with disturbances as their brutal FTL drives tore through spacetime. Humanity's first fleet of quantum ships, led by the upgraded Prometheus, prepared for deployment. Thanks to the network, they could respond almost instantly to any incursion, but the Harvester's superior numbers meant they couldn't be everywhere at once. As Sarah watched the defense preparations from the Unity Project's command center, she felt Echo's presence beside her. "You're worried," the Guardian observed. "The fate of our species hangs in the balance," she replied. "How could I not be?" "Consider this." Echo's form shifted, creating a display of the quantum network around Earth. "Of all the species we've encountered, yours is the first to truly understand both aspects of the network, its harmony and its potential for defense. Perhaps this is not coincidence. Perhaps humanity was meant to face this challenge." Sarah studied the dancing lights representing quantum traffic through the network. "You're suggesting some kind of destiny." "I'm suggesting that the universe has a way of providing the right tools to those who might use them wisely. The network chose to reveal itself to you. Now we will see what humanity chooses to do with that gift." Beyond the lunar orbit, more Harvester signatures were appearing. The first real test of humanity's new capabilities was about to begin. But as Sarah watched her species prepare for battle, she felt something unexpected: confidence. They had found their own path to the stars, earned the respect of ancient guardians, and developed weapons that even their enemies couldn't anticipate. The Harvesters were about to learn that humanity was far more than just another primitive species waiting to be harvested. They were about to learn why you should never underestimate the ingenuity of a young, determined species fighting for its survival. The first wave of Harvester ships emerged from FTL like a nightmare-given form. Their vessels were vast, angular constructs of dark metal and crackling energy fields, each arrival leaving visible tears in the fabric of spacetime. They appeared beyond Neptune's orbit, dozens at first, then hundreds. In the Unity Project's command center, Sarah Chen watched the tactical displays with Admiral Chen and Echo. The quantum network's readings pulsed with disturbance patterns, like ripples from stones thrown into a cosmic pond. "Their numbers are greater than we anticipated," Echo observed, its form flickering with concern. "They must have devoted significant resources to this assault." "Good," Admiral Chen said grimly. "That means they're taking us seriously." He activated the command channel. "All ships, execute Operation Quantum Web." Humanity's defense fleet, led by Commander Rodriguez in the Prometheus, had been waiting in quantum space, hidden within the resonance points that the Harvesters couldn't detect. Now they emerged in a carefully choreographed sequence, each ship appearing precisely where the complex battle plan required. The Harvester's response was immediate and brutal. Energy weapons capable of cracking planets lashed out across space, but humanity's ships, guided by the quantum network, shifted positions faster than their enemies could target, using the natural resonance points to move in ways the Harvesters couldn't predict. "First phase successful," Rodriguez reported. "Moving to phase 2. This was the moment of truth. While the Guardians watched in fascination, humanity's ships began implementing Dr. Chen's radical strategy. Each vessel carried a modified quantum drive capable of manipulating the spacetime scars left by Harvester FTL travel. As the enemy ships tried to maneuver, they found their own damage to reality being used against them. "By the network," Echo whispered, watching as human vessels deliberately triggered cascading reactions in the weakened spacetime fabric. "You're using their own violence against them." The battle unfolded across the solar system. Harvester ships found themselves trapped in pockets of distorted spacetime. Their brutal efficiency turned into a vulnerability. Human vessels danced through the quantum network's resonance points, striking and vanishing before their larger enemies could respond. But the Harvesters hadn't conquered 12 systems by being predictable. Their flagship, a behemoth that dwarfed all other vessels, began charging what their alien allies' records identified as a spacetime shredder, a weapon capable of destroying the local quantum network itself. "All ships, fall back," Admiral Chen ordered. "They're going to." "No." Sarah's voice cut through the command center. "Look at the network readings." The quantum resonance points were pulsing with unprecedented energy. As the Harvester weapon powered up, the network itself seemed to be responding, growing stronger rather than weaker. "Of course," Sarah breathed. "The network isn't just a transportation system. It's alive. It's conscious. And it's been waiting for someone to stand up to them." Echo's form blazed with sudden understanding. The network builders. They didn't just create paths between stars. They created a defense system. But it needed the right species to activate it, one that understood both its harmony and its strength. Commander Rodriguez's voice crackled through the comm. "Control, the quantum readings are off the scale. The network is. It's offering us something. Permission to interface." Admiral Chen looked at Sarah, who nodded firmly. "Do it." What happened next would be debated by scientists for decades to come. The quantum network, activated by humanity's defense of its harmonious nature, revealed its full power. Every human ship found itself connected not just to the network, but to each other and to the very fabric of space-time itself. The Harvester flagship fired its weapon, but instead of destroying the network, the energy was caught, channeled, and redirected through humanity's ships. The quantum resonance points flared like newborn stars. In an instant, every tear, every scar the Harvesters had created in their brutal passage through spacetime was turned into a trap. Their ships found themselves ensnared in a web of their own making, their weapons useless against the fundamental forces they had spent so long abusing. "They're trying to retreat," Rodriguez reported, her voice filled with awe at what their ships were now capable of. "But the network, it's not letting them." The battle ended not with a grand explosion or a desperate last stand, but with the quiet implosion of the Harvester fleet, their ships crushed by the very space-time distortions they had created over centuries of destructive FTL travel. In the aftermath, as cleanup operations began, Echo approached Sarah in the observation dome of the Unity Project facility. Above them, the quantum network shimmered with new energy, visible now even to human eyes. "You understand what this means?" the Guardian asked. Sarah nodded slowly. "The network wasn't just testing us. It was looking for inheritors, a species that could understand both the beauty of its design and the necessity of its defense. For millennia, we Guardians could only watch as the Harvesters spread, too reverent of the network's harmony to use its full power, too afraid of becoming like them. Humanity found the balance we never could." The quantum network pulsed overhead, its patterns now clearly revealing what Sarah had begun to suspect. It wasn't just a collection of transit points, or even a defense system. It was the legacy of an ancient species that had understood the universe would eventually need protectors who could appreciate its beauty while having the courage to fight for its preservation. Admiral Chen joined them, looking up at the newly visible network. "The other Harvester fleets will come when they realize what happened here." "Let them come," Sarah said quietly. "Humanity has found its place in the universe, and we're just getting started." She watched as the Prometheus led a squadron of ships through a quantum resonance point, their passage leaving no scars, no tears in reality. Just smooth ripples in the cosmic fabric, like stones skipped across the surface of an infinite pond. Humanity had reached for the stars and found not just a new means of travel, but a new purpose. They were no longer just explorers or defenders of their own world. They had become guardians of something greater, protectors of the very harmony of space-time itself. And somewhere, Sarah knew, The network builders were pleased with their choice.